Pete, you have a deep background around in highlights. Well, in sports, obviously, but I mean, what's interesting because I've known you for such a long time, it does seem like yeah, we had highlights version 1 and then highlights version 2, and I do feel like we're kind of in highlights version 3. We talked about this a little bit, like WSC, you're associated with automated clipping. Today, the hot one's like Opus Clip, and we talked about this a little bit. Yeah, it actually does a pretty amazing thing with like clip number 1, 2, and 3 are pretty awesome, but it's generated like 40. And after like the first 2 or 3, you're like, wait a second, clip 11 should be with 16 and 2. So tell me a little bit about what you think is happening. And let me just say this and let you go on this, but like you really have taken a stance for a long time of how important highlights are, how we have to monetize them. And you've just been so right on it, where it's like even the young kids and the like they just watch highlights and sort of talk trash to each other. How much is highlights and the next generation of that important to what you guys are doing and how you see LLMs fit into all of this, specifically like the LLMs on air? How do you get these into production where they're actually doing these clips and you can trust them?
Well, I think, first of all, my old company, Bleacher Report, in this last new renewal for the NBA, they basically paid a rights fee, because Turner lost the NBA to our friends at NBC and Amazon. But they actually paid a separate fee to have highlights for the NBA. And they wrote a big check for that. And I think it was symbiotic because Bleacher has such a young demo. And you're 100% right. They're basically munching on those highlights instead of watching a live game. And I've said this before with you. It's like, if you aggregate live rights and highlight rights, you could one day have it competing against each other in the sense of the value of those rights. And just like you said, WSC, and others who have basically automated the clipping of highlights allows all of that to happen. And then, if you're able to basically know the user, right? Go into a Databricks or a Snowflake and know that I'm a fan of this particular team or player or action, sort of what ESPN wants to do in the next version of ESPN Plus, create a personalized sports center for every single person. And to me, that's super, super valuable because your chance of engagement, click-throughs, associations with advertisers just grows because at scale, with large language models and with AI, you're able to hyper serve every single individual, with the right content in the right place and on the right platform. So I
Just
think
a quick,
that's,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead. No, go
No,
ahead.
just a quick follow-up at it. Just my like news journalist popped. Are you saying, let me even get this right, like of that whole thing with the Zaslav, the WBD and the NB, this was an escape hatch because you saw like that was part of the settlement. Okay, well, we'll take the highlights. That's absolutely fascinating and something that is super interesting for you to be watching. It's been pumping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then just, to their credit, they were able to get inside the NBA and getting a, license fee for inside the NBA, right? There, and ESPN's going to use Charles, Kenny, Shaq, and EJ for their halftime show. So I think there's negotiating, right? So
Yep.
exactly what you said, you're horse trading all the assets that you possibly have, and what can you get in return? I thought it was interesting, really quick on the news stuff, you know, um, what Rafi was saying, training these models, shooting the video or sourcing the video from affiliates, probably what was never even thought of is, do I have the right to use affiliate footage to train models? And
Right.
do I have to bifurcate large libraries to say, hey, this was CNN cameraman or this was Sinclair cameraman, and we can use this, but my affiliate in Los Angeles, I never did a deal with him to show OJ Simpson driving on the 405 in a white Bronco. So I don't have the right. So that'll be an interesting discussion. And maybe there is a way, there's a clearinghouse where revenue can be shared. But that's a big topic because there's so much footage that you could train on, but who really owns it and who has the right to train? So I
Yeah.
thought that was an interesting sort of point that Rafi brought up. It's just, that's where all this stuff is going right at the beginning.
Huge.
Like, who has the
Yeah.
right and who doesn't have the right?